I'm Babla Jonathan, and this is the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television, live from our headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. In our top stories in this edition of the news, the Republic of Cameroon is stepping up the fight against the coronavirus pandemic. The Minister of Public Health, Dr. Manauda Malachi, has said the government is acquiring more equipment and tests to fight the COVID-19. The country has now confirmed 84 cases of the coronavirus, including 4 who are responding to treatment, according to the Minister of Public Health, while the 3 cases, suspected cases in the southwest region of the country, have been tested negative, according to information streaming into our studio from health officials in that part of the country. In Uganda, the president has suspended public transport for 14 days, and the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has said about $2.5 to $6 billion will be needed to help developing countries to fight the coronavirus. Cameroon's Minister of Public Health, Dr. Manauda Malachi, has said the government is acquiring more equipment and tests as it steps up the fight against coronavirus. As of now, Cameroon has recorded 84 confirmed cases, including 4 who are said to be responding to treatment. According to the Minister of Public Health, Dr. Manauda Malachi, should also be indicated that the country has already recorded 1 coronavirus death, and meantime a consignment of equipment and tests from China arrived at the country through the Yaoundé Simalé International Airport earlier today. It is a donation from a Chinese humanitarian, Jack Ma, popularly known as Ali Baba, and the 3 suspected cases of the COVID-19 in the southwest region of the country have tested negative. The results indicate that they were suffering from normal seasonal cold and fever. However, health officials in the southwest region have urged the inhabitants to remain vigilant and to respect all the World Health Organization and Cameroon government preventive measures in order to bar the way to the COVID-19 in that part of the country. And still in the southwest region of the Republic of Cameroon, the city mayor of Kumba in the Meme division was in some parts of the town today sensitizing the public on the preventive measures taken by the Cameroon government and the sanitation rules laid down by the World Health Organization to fight against the COVID-19. The new mayor of Boya, who was formerly government delegate, new mayor of Kumba, formerly government delegate to the Kumba City Council, went through the markets and the streets of Kumba, sensitizing the public and urging them to respect the rules of hygiene of the World Health Organization and the preventive measures, the 13 measures and others taken by the government of the Republic of Cameroon to prevent the spread of COVID-19 across the national territory. Take a listen.
To curb the spread of the virus they call coronavirus. In Cameroon today, we are hearing about 60 cases of this virus. And so we must effectively come and ensure that our citizens of Kumba are protected. That is why we have come with these measures to ensure that our citizens of Kumba are well protected before anything can happen. The turnout has been very wonderful. We've gone around the market, you can see for yourself. We've talked to the people. We've advised them on what mechanisms, methods they could use to curb this spreading disease called the coronavirus. The message should be that they must be sensitized over the spread of this virus. They should be sensitized and they should follow the advice from the sensitization. Once they follow this advice, we are sure that, that the spread of this disease will be curbed.
Victor Nkelengo, City Mayor of Kumba in the Meme Division, Southwest region of the Republic of Cameroon, speaking there. And shops and warehouses in Konsamba in the Mongo Division, Littoral region of the country, whose owners were violating orders from the Ministry of Trade, notably as far as the prices of basic commodities are concerned, have been sealed and the owners sanctioned. And this is coming at a time when government authorities have been urging all persons on the Cameroonian territory to respect the laws of the land, to respect the preventive measures put in place, to respect rules of hygiene from the World Health Organization in order to help in fighting a common enemy, the COVID-19. But many Cameroonians have not been respecting some of the rules, and some have been seizing or using the opportunity of the coronavirus to increase prices in the shops in different parts of the country. Details in this report compiled by for me, I'm Strong Sander.
Founded information of a possible lockdown in Cameroon to prevent the spread of COVID-19 provoked a scramble for basic commodities in some markets in the city of Konsamba in the Mongo Division of the Littoral region of Cameroon. A situation exploited by unscrupulous traders to hike prices, leaving the common man in peace. Prices of products like rice, fish, flour and other food items scaled in markets in Konsamba in the recent days. Our activities have been stopped as a measure to stop COVID-19. Now we are exploited in the market. Consumers suffer a lot. The prices of everything has increased in market. As a matter of necessity to protect consumers, the divisional delegate of Trade and Commerce for the Mongo Division and team descended on some traders guilty of exploiting consumers in some market in the city of Konsamba. Shops and magazines guilty of hiking prices were sealed in the course of the process. As instructed by the Ministry of Trade and Commerce in Cameroon, the delegate and team demanded traders to openly display homologated prices and ensure their strict implementation or be sanctioned.
Nous avons été très rigoureux.
We were very rigorous with these unscrupulous traders. Those who orchestrated artificial scarcity saw their shops and warehouses sealed. Those who engaged in fraudulent commercial activities were summoned to report to the Delegation of Commerce. Just like the minister clearly stated, the period of tolerance is over, and the state with all its means will track down unscrupulous and fraudulent traders. We are working in synergy with the forces of law and order, and through the support of top administrative officials, we shall track them down.
L'État a tous les moyens, n'est-ce pas, en ses possessions pour traquer tous ces opérateurs véreux.
The field mission of the Mongo Divisional Delegate of Trade and Commerce comes after a release from the Minister of Trade and Commerce, warning traders against increased prices within the coronavirus period in Cameroon. Minister Luc Magloire Atangana, in his measures, provided a toll-free number 1510 for consumers to report any case of increased prices in markets across Cameroon.
Similar story, close to 10 shops in the Bolowa market, in the Bolowa Central Market, have been sealed. The owners failed to respect the 4 p.m. closing time stipulated by the country's Minister of Trade, Luc Magloire-Tangana. Several commercial motorbikes were also impounded for failing to respect the rules of the government as far as overloading is concerned. It is strictly forbidden to carry more than 3 persons on the same motorbike. As of now, the Minister of Transport has instructed that only the rider and 1 passenger are supposed to be seen on motorbikes across the country. Details with Immaculate Fogwe.
Administrative authorities in the Bolowa 1 subdivision, the South region of Cameroon, have fired back on recalcitrant motorcycle riders who are not respecting some of the 13 measures taken by the government of Cameroon to help contain the spread of the coronavirus in the territory. The seizure of some of these motorcycles by security officers caused some of the drivers to exasperate. We are not civil servants. We are just managing with our motorcycles. If you don't want us to overload, then tell our passengers to get down and not seize our motorcycles. Where then are we going to get money from to get back our motorcycles? What will our children eat? At least you people should have warned us earlier. Some other motorcycle riders are planning to adopt other measures to make ends meet. We will have to increase transport fare so that we can at least be able to survive with our families. Close to 10 stores at the Bolowa Central Market that were still operating after 6 p.m. were sealed. The divisional officer for Bolowa 1 subdivision, Elvis Akonji Bahagwen, explains that measures have been put in place to punish defaulters.
Pour sanctionner tout ce qui estime qu'ils peuvent.
We will not minimize any effort to sanction all those who do not respect the 13 measures taken by the government of Cameroon. I'm calling on all citizens to denounce defaulters.
Conformer. On dit à situation exceptionnelle des mesures exceptionnelles.
Despite government's recommendation of 1 meter distancing, Cameroonians are still seen in groups of 50 with very close body contact, but for few who are adequately implementing the measure. Another practice restricted by the government was the sale of food items on the ground, which is apparently yet to penetrate. Some inhabitants of the area have adopted hygiene measures as they could be seen constantly washing their hands with water and soap.
Motorbikes in the Republic of Cameroon are now compelled to carry just 2 persons, the rider and a passenger. Taxis, just 3 passengers, and similar measures have been taken for intra-urban and inter-urban transport buses by the Minister of Transport, and the measures are, however, not being respected in many parts of the country, including other measures that have been taken by the government of the Republic of Cameroon. In Uganda, the president of the country has banned public transport for 14 days, and this is part of the country's measures in the fight against coronavirus. In a televised address, President Museveni said that the ban will take effect immediately. That was yesterday, and this includes the ubiquitous borders, as the motorcycle taxis are locally known, and private cars will only be allowed to carry 3 passengers, including the driver. Take listen to the president of Uganda, Yoweri Museveni.
The government has decided to suspend for 14 days now all public transport. And this means all taxis, all costas, minibuses, all buses, all passenger trains, all tuk-tuks, the tricycles, and all the borders. These all are suspended. Why? Because we don't want to minimize movement. Therefore, the only vehicle that will be moving will be private vehicles, but they should not carry more than 3 people, including the driver. Therefore, even a private vehicle parked with family members is not allowed. That's why all those functions should be postponed. Family, people going home for Easter, all that. Wait. Let's first get out of this danger. Now, the other vehicles, that will continue moving will be the trucks, the lorries, delivering cargo. Delivering cargo. Don't use the lorries to transport people.
As countries around the world and African countries also take drastic measures to prevent the spread of the coronavirus, the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has said that it is important to support people and businesses and to uphold livelihoods through special funds that are expected to be raised by the government of the different countries in order to support individuals and also to enhance the respect of the different measures that have been put in place against the COVID-19. Take a listen.
We need to have a clear strategy. It is not just to, I would say, mitigate. If you look at the curve of the cases, we need to break that curve, not only to bend the curve. We need to suppress the virus. And then we need to mobilize what I believe is required, which is a double-digit percentage of the economy at national level and of the global economy in order to address the socio-economic consequences of this disease. I think member states were slow in reacting. But now the question is not to enter into a blame game with ones blaming the others. The action that is needed is to bring everybody together in a coordinated way to suppress the virus and to make sure that the people and the businesses that need to survive are effectively helped by a massive mobilization of funds that the present situation requires. We are living in a war situation against the virus. We need to deal with it with a war economy. I think that people are gaining conscience that this is serious, and this is going to be much more serious if there is no solidarity and if there is no effective coordination. If we just let the virus go, we are talking of millions of people being infected and millions of people that can die.
UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has also said that about $2.5 to $6 billion will be needed to help developing countries to fight the COVID-19. And Antonio Guterres also indicates that it is important to prepare for necessary recovery after the pandemic. And after he called for a global ceasefire, guns are going down in some parts of the country, including some African countries, but in other parts of the country, including the Lake Chad Basin, guns are still killing civilians and soldiers. Antonio Guterres indicating that about $2.5 to $6 billion will be needed to help African countries in the fight, African countries and other developing countries of the world to fight against the COVID-19 pandemic, and also indicating that guns have gone down in some parts of the country after he called for a global ceasefire. But in other parts, there are still civilians and soldiers who are being killed, including areas like the Lake Chad Basin, where some Chadian soldiers were recently killed, and of course the two Anglophone regions of the Republic of Cameroon, the northwest and the southwest, where the gun battles have continued and other atrocities being committed in that part of the country within the context of the Anglophone crisis. Take a listen to Antonio Guterres.
This is not a financial crisis like 2008. Of course, we need to keep the liquidity of the financial systems, but it is essential to support people and businesses. It is essential to make livelihoods work. It's essential to keep households afloat and businesses afloat. And this is with direct support that is absolutely crucial. This is being done in several countries, but again, it needs to be done in a coordinated way at the level of G20, and then it needs to mobilize, and I estimate that we will need about $2.5 to $3 trillion to help the developing countries do the same. The IMF has already a lending capacity of about $1 billion. We need special drawing rights. in a war economy, we need to print money. The way to print money globally is through special drawing rights, to put at the disposal of the developing world, mobilize all other international financial institutions, increase the swaps between central banks, especially to help the emerging economies, to be able to concentrate this huge volume of resources for the developing countries also to be able to address the huge challenges to their societies. And then finally, I think we need to prepare a recovery. And to prepare a recovery for a better economy, a more sustainable and inclusive economy. We don't need to replicate exactly the economy of the past. Many things will change, I would say, irreversibly in our lives. We need to be able to use this dramatic situation also to seize it as an opportunity to make our capacity to have more inclusiveness and more sustainability in our economies prevail. All my special envoys and representatives are developing initiatives in order, from Syria to Yemen to Libya to all other places, in order to make sure that the guns are silenced. And several of the movements, armed movements, have already responded positively. In some places we are seeing even cooperation in addressing the COVID response. Unfortunately, in other situations things are going on, especially when we have terrorist organizations that do not respect anyone or anybody. We have seen this attack in Chad that killed 93 soldiers, and I want to express my deep condolences to the Chadian people. But I feel that there is a growing conscience that there is only one war that is needed. It's a war against the virus.
Latest information streaming into our newsroom indicates that 88 confirmed cases of the coronavirus have now been recorded in the Republic of Cameroon and 2 deaths. The information has been made public by the Office of the Prime Minister and reported by state media CRTV. 88 cases of the coronavirus and 2 deaths now confirmed in the Republic of Cameroon. On to something else. Insecurity remains a serious problem in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala, and some of the suspected bandits who had been terrorizing some inhabitants of the city of Douala have been arrested by forces of law and others. Manjikan Gebre reports.
Mvondo James, 26-year-old, also called the Carrier, caught the attention of many during the presentation of a group of alleged bandits that have been terrorizing the inhabitants of Douala. Mvondo James, a security officer in Cameroon, has been stealing from persons alongside his group of friends. Immediately, Le Farceur calls me. I will go and study the situation before I make any move. The transporter has a bike. As we arrive at the site, if there is a means, we attack. If no means, we return. The 6, according to the lead investigator of the case, Lieutenant Fono Zhang, have been involved in several burglary cases in Douala, making away with huge sums of money from their targets. In December 2019, after attacking an Indian citizen based in Douala, they took away 40 million francs CFA. Still in the same month, the 6 attacked a resident at Village and Bonamusa, the neighborhood, respectively. In these 2 areas, they made away with the sum of 5 million francs each. The only operation that failed was in Bali neighborhood. That was in the month of February 2020, which they left without stealing from their Chinese victims. I find myself in a situation I don't expect to get into, and it went bad for me after my phone fell off. I was even hit by a car. It is through my phone that a family member of mine was arrested. Through him that I was also caught. But I had no choice than to sell the others.
C'est ma famille qui a été là où je me trouvais. Donc quand ils m'ont pris, j'étais obligé de cracher tout le morceau.
Each of the 6 alleged bandits had at least assassinated 1 person. They are expected to be taken to court in the days ahead.
And that's it for the first part of this newscast. Talking Point is up next. Our first guest today is an educationist, the registrar of the Regional Training Center of the Cameroon Baptist Convention, Mutengene, in the southwest region of the country. Helga Jan, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Are your children in the house?
Thank you very much. I'm not married, but I have children.
Okay. Is it easy to manage children at this time who are in the house?
Yeah. My children are doing well. They are very obedient children. I think they listen to instructions. For this while, they have been in the house obeying the law to stay in the home.
Okay, you have not sent them to the streets to sell like other parents are doing?
No.
All right. And then to my left, Kejang Henry, Deputy National Communication Secretary, number 3 of the Social Democratic Front SDF political party. You're welcome.
Well, thank you very much, Jonathan, for this opportunity to be on Talking Point.
All right. Your political party has issued a statement concerning the management of the coronavirus pandemic in the Republic of Cameroon. The statement signed by the first Vice President, Honorable O.C. Joshua, indicates that for the government measures and all other measures that have been taken to yield the expected fruits, that of preventing the spread of the COVID-19 in the Republic of Cameroon, to yield the expected fruits, we must go above political lines. What is the meaning of that?
Yes, Babila or Jonathan, let me just say that, well, that is a very wonderful outing by the first deputy chairperson of our party, because, you know, it picks its roots from the standing committee of the Social Democratic Front. I'm talking about the health aspect of the standing committee, which talks about health insurance and so on and so forth. That is to say that, well, it is a shadow movement, because we have understood that, or those of us in the party and party militants or members already understand that the coronavirus doesn't know any boundary, and we are very much concerned. It's not for nothing that we made the outing. And like I said, the outing is based on the fact that the party has all it takes to make sure it contributes in the development of the nation health-wise. Now, the first vice, on behalf, of course, of the national chairman, His Excellency Nijon Frundi, said we should bury all our cleavages, political difference, to make sure our efforts are concerted, and that it should not be like a particular political party has the legitimacy to be able to carry out such actions alone.
Political boundaries must be
yes, we have to breach political boundaries. That is the essence of it, and that concerted efforts should come onto the table in synergy to make sure that where we fight this global pandemic. It is very frightening. Maybe people do not know to what extent this pandemic has gone. And if you just look at the figures globally, in countries like Italy, that is recording the highest number of victims, you then know that if it gets to Cameroon, let me tell you, and to be very clear about it, we'll be picking corpses on the street. And SDF, just like some other political parties, doesn't want that to happen again.
All right. Now, the government has taken a series of about 13 measures to fight against the COVID-19. The Minister of Trade has taken other measures, instructing the closure of markets by 4 p.m. and there are other measures surrounding the 13 measures that have been taken by the government with the aim of preventing the spread of COVID-19. But since these measures were taken and all the work that the government has been doing, the number of confirmed cases has been increasing. We are talking today of 88 and 2 deaths recorded, and among the 88 cases there are 4 that are responding to treatment, according to the Minister of Public Health, Dr. Manauda Malachi. What's your take on the management of this pandemic in Cameroon?
I want to say that the government actually triggered the management of this crisis on the 17th of this month, to be very much precise. But then there is something Cameroonians and some people across the continent and even the globe forget to understand. The coronavirus actually started in China, and in the month of November, to be very much precise. Now, once you look at the transactions that have been going on in November, in December, in January, February, that is 4 months running, it tells you that people have been doing business and interacting with this coronavirus infested country until when the Chinese government discovered that its hands were full. That is when they started calling the world's attention. Don't forget, we have been doing business since December, people moving to China and Asia or other Asian countries and to the Middle East to shop, shipping goods in and out. People have been streaming in and out, moving from one continent to the other. Now, the question is not whether the government started the fight or crusade against this virus
at the right time.
At the right time. All the governments missed out on this issue because people have been moving up and down. We have friends, brothers, relatives, and so on and so forth who are doing business in China since November, since December. Are we sure that they have not spread this virus across the continent, across the world? So I asked myself the question, where are we going to have the necessary material, logistics, like the SDF said, to be able to handle it?
The Minister of Public Health said that the government is acquiring more equipment and tests in order to step up the fight.
The Chinese billionaire Jack Ma has helped the world. It has helped African countries, even Asian countries, even the European and the Americans. He has helped them. Now, let us put it in context. Take our own. We don't have, to be very honest with you, we don't have the necessary logistics, the savoir-faire to handle this crisis. That is why the government came up with those 13 measures you mentioned. And we of the Social Democratic Front noticed that Cameroonians are not conscious a bit in respecting these measures that the government has put down. You will not go, the government will not come into your house, Jonathan, to tell you to wash your hands, to tell your children to wash your hands. You are there to tell your children. The government will not come into this office to tell you to sanitize, to wash your hands.
And that's why
stay home and to, of course, to adopt some hygienic conditions.
That's why the head of state called on all Cameroonians and all other persons on the Cameroonian territory to be more responsible and disciplined. But some parents, in particular, this one concerns children, school-going kids who are now in the house, and some parents have not been respecting the measures taken by government. Instead of keeping the children in the house, they are sending the children to the streets, to the markets to go and sell, and this is what has been condemned by the Minister of Social Affairs, Catherine, the Minister of Social Affairs, Irene Gene, and you are an educationist. When you look at this kind of attitude, what do you think about it?
I think that in Cameroon, one of the serious problems we have is that Cameroonians themselves are not educated on public health issues, and as my friend here rightly says, their eyes are not yet open to the reality of this pandemic. And interestingly, in the education setting of the Cameroon Baptist Convention Health Services, we have been running a school of public health since 2004, and we have been encouraging Cameroonians to enroll in this school so that they can gain more knowledge on what public health is all about. We have different courses we are offering in this School of Public Health
to educate Cameroonians on public health issues.
And it doesn't have to be only health practitioners, even council workers, community workers, people who find themselves in NGOs. In fact, most NGOs that come now to do alleviation on the pandemic and other disasters that happen around the world, public health diploma or degree is an added advantage for those Cameroonians out there who are always complaining of no job. In fact, the government...
Talking about the issue of children who are supposed to be in school but are not in school because of the coronavirus pandemic, and they are now in the house. Is it easy to keep them in the house? How should parents manage this in order to respect the rules of government and keep their children safe and even themselves?
Everything comes with education. If parents of a home educate their children about the serious aspect of this disease, if they educate them and say, hey, this is the amount of people that died in Italy because of this disease, and I'm protecting you not to go out, not because I don't want you to enjoy or to play around, but I want to protect you. There is no child that will not listen to the parent if the parent take time to educate them.
In the meantime, government is still reflecting on the possibility of implementing e-learning, that is learning online, because as of now, no schools, all schools are closed, all schools are shut down, no academic activities are going on. But for some schools who are functioning online, and you are the registrar of one of such schools, the Regional Training Center in Mutengen of the Baptist Church, and how are you operating this e-learning?
Actually, right now we have what we call Zoom classes. We organize our classes on Zoom, so our students can be able to sit and listen to lectures on Zoom. We have been doing that, and we are encouraging more people to enroll because it is also an opportunity for them to learn even while they are working. It's an opportunity for them to learn at long distance. We are actually partnering with Miami Institute of Health Sciences in Uganda, where most of our lecturers, they always offer courses on Zoom to our students.
Courses on Zoom?
Yes.
What exactly do you mean by courses on Zoom? How does it...
Zoom is an application like Skype, where you actually register online. When a student enroll in our institute, we send the student a link. He can actually connect online to classes.
Can this be implemented by the Cameroon government with at the level of the higher institutions of learning? Because in the secondary school level, primary school level, it may be quite difficult, especially in the remote parts of the country where there is no internet connection. Not all the children have access to phones or laptops and all of that.
Well, it is possible if we make it possible, and if the parents are also willing to buy to it. There is nothing impossible if people are willing to do it. When once the people are able and are willing in the first place to accept that they need an education, even by online, it is very possible. The government can set up that structure of organizing Zoom classes at higher education level. But if the people refuse to get it, then they miss out, because nobody will come to force you to click on the link. You have to discipline yourself. We have many social media activities going on. That is to tell us that Cameroonians themselves can afford for internet.
All right, Kejan Henry, the closure of borders, shutting down of schools, transport regulated, not more than 2 persons on a motorbike, no more than 4 in a taxi, about 50 in 70-seater buses, markets to be shut down or to close by 4 p.m., beer parlors, entertainment sites to close at 6 p.m., among other measures. Are they really good enough to prevent the COVID-19 from spreading across the country?
Well, you see, those are contingency measures that the government has put in place. But then, like we were saying, it is for the people to start respecting these measures. Beer parlors closing out on maybe at 6 p.m. The law says they should shut down at 6, which means that you close the door at 6. It is not at 6 p.m. that you start packing the 50 chairs, the 50 tables, and the crates of beer that were outside into the shop or into the beer house. Because if you start packing 50 chairs, 20 tables, 100 crates from 6 p.m., you will end up shutting your doors at 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. That is what I've observed around. Well, some people are becoming very conscious, in some of the transport agencies, no overloading and so on and so forth. Well, I think it can avert, it can reduce, and that is an aspect of social distancing. Because, when we sit in taxis or on bikes, people are on bikes 2, 3. In taxis, people are overloaded in front, 3 persons, that is 2 plus the driver, 3, and behind 3. You see, the distance is not there, and experts have told us that this actually helps in averting the disease or the spread of the virus.
Right. In other African countries, tougher measures have been taken. Complete lockdown. And the case of Uganda, for example, that has banned public transport for 14 days and so on. And some health officials had been indicating earlier that if total confinement is not implemented immediately in Cameroon, there are going to be more than 100 cases in the weeks ahead. And we are already at more than 80 cases and 2 deaths recorded in Cameroon. And the issue of total confinement or partial confinement is still on the table of government under examination. What do you think about this?
Well, I think total confinement is, for now, not necessary. The government has asked people to make sure they actually confine themselves if you can, or if they could. Total confinement. Don't forget, people are extremely poor. There are people who have not eaten since morning as I speak now. There are people who don't even know if they will eat tomorrow, and they want to go out, hustle for money. So if you confine them without food at home, what do you expect them to do? That is why the government says people should implement the 13 measures. It will probably save them, and they can go out. And many companies, structures have actually adjusted, their work schedule to make sure people are not crowded in offices. Right. So I think people should be able to respect what the government is saying.
We are drawing to the end.
The Social Democratic Front has asked that every Cameroonian and everybody living on this geographical space should be able to respect those laws or rules.
And Honorable O.C. Joshua also said that special measures should be implemented in the northwest and southwest regions of the country because of the crisis situation in that part of the country. Now, we are already rounding up. Helga, Jam, the last word about this e-learning that can help in mitigating the impact of the crisis on academic activities.
Yeah, we just encouraging the general public. Registration is ongoing at RTC. You can visit the CBCHS website, that Regional Training Center, or you write an email to regionaltrainingschool@gmail.com and you will find me there. It's very possible we can all work together to see how we can help many people to have knowledge on public health and how they can also help their communities, because the need is really pressing.
And to continue learning while the schools have been shut down, while also hoping that the pandemic will be contained in the nearest future. Thanks so much, Helga Jam, Educationist Registrar of RTN Mutengene. Thanks for coming. Kejang Henry, Deputy National Communications Secretary, number 3 of the Social Democratic
You're
Front.
very correct.
Thanks for your time.
Well, it was a pleasure being here.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. That's it for today.